Most parenting content tells you what you are doing wrong. This one is different. Today we are talking about secure attachment, what it actually looks like to build it, what the research says really matters, and 10 specific things you can begin doing, or keep doing, starting today. Because here is what the science shows. Secure attachment is not the result of perfect parenting. It is not about never losing your patience, always having the right words, or being endlessly available. Research from the Minnesota Study of Risk and Adaptation, one of the longest-running child development studies ever conducted, tracking children from birth all the way to adulthood, found that what predicts secure attachment is not flawless parenting. It is responsive parenting. Parenting that notices, returns, and repairs. And that is something every parent in this room is capable of. So let's talk about what it looks like specifically, practically, and backed by the best evidence we have. What secure attachment actually is. In 1969, British psychiatrist John Bowlby introduced a concept that would change the entire field of child development. He called it the secure base. His idea was simple but profound. Every child needs a fixed point, a person that functions as home base. A place they can leave to explore the world, knowing that when things get hard, when they fall, when they are scared or overwhelmed, that base will be there. Steady, warm, waiting. When that base exists reliably, the child's nervous system can do something it cannot do otherwise. It can relax. And a relaxed nervous system, one not occupied with monitoring for threat, is a nervous system free to do what childhood is designed for. Exploration, learning, play, the formation of self. So what builds that base? 10 things. Here they are. Pattern 1. The chemistry of touch. There is a biological mechanism at the heart of secure attachment that most parenting conversations never mention. It is not a behavior. It is a hormone. Oxytocin, produced in the hypothalamus, and often called the bonding hormone, is the neurochemical most directly implicated in the formation of parent-child attachment. And research published in the Journal of Family Perspectives has found something specific and important about how it is released. Physical touch is one of its most reliable triggers. When CT afferents, specialized nerve fibers embedded in the skin, are stimulated by gentle, affectionate touch, oxytocin is released both peripherally in the body and centrally in the brain. That dual release contributes to the calming and bonding effects associated with physical contact, particularly in the emotionally significant context of parent-child interaction. In practice, when you hold your child, stroke their hair, sit close enough that your bodies are touching, hug them when they are distressed, you are not just providing comfort through presence. You are triggering a neurochemical cascade that literally reinforces the attachment bond at a biological level. Research from a 3-month program at a nursery school in Japan found that increasing physical contact between caregivers and children produced measurable increases in children's oxytocin levels alongside observable improvements in attachment security and social skills. This matters because physical touch is often the first thing that diminishes as children grow. We stop picking them up. We stop initiating contact as freely. The assumption is that they need less of it as they become more independent. But the biology disagrees. What to practice? Be deliberate about physical contact at every age, not just in infancy, but in toddlerhood, in primary school, in adolescence. Sit close when you read together. Reach out and touch their shoulder when you pass. Hug them at the start and end of hard conversations. You are not just showing affection. You are activating the neurochemical architecture of attachment itself. Pattern 2. Emotional presence over physical proximity. Here is something that surprises most parents. Your child does not primarily need your body. They need your face. Dr. Daniel Siegel, clinical professor of psychiatry at UCLA and one of the world's leading researchers on interpersonal neurobiology, describes what he calls feeling felt. The experience of having your inner world recognized and reflected back by someone you love, not fixed, not solved, felt. In 1978, developmental psychologist Edward Tronick designed what became known as the still face experiment. A mother interacts warmly with her infant. Then, on cue, she goes blank. Expressionless. Still. The infant's response is immediate. They try to re-engage. They smile, point, vocalize. When nothing comes back, confusion sets in. Within 2 minutes, most infants begin to cry or shut down entirely. Nothing physically changed. The mother was still there, but her face went away. And for the infant's nervous system, that was enough to trigger alarm. Your child reads your face the way we read weather. They use it to calibrate whether the world is safe, whether they are okay, whether this moment is one to open up in or close down for. What to practice? Notice how your face behaves in your child's presence. When you are distracted, stressed, or emotionally somewhere else, your face becomes what researchers call a still face, and your child's nervous system registers that absence as alarm. You don't have to be radiant every moment, but you can practice coming back, making eye contact, softening your expression, letting your face say what your words sometimes can't. I see you. I'm here. You are welcome. And now, pattern 3. The one that changes everything for parents who believe they have already done too much damage. Pattern 3. The 30% rule: repair matters more than perfection. Securely attached mothers are accurately attuned to their babies, only 30% of the time. That is the finding from researcher Beatrice Beebe's work at Columbia University. The other 70% of interactions involve some degree of misattunement, a missed cue, a mistimed response, a moment where the parent simply got it wrong. 30%. And these are the good outcomes. What this tells us is that secure attachment is not built from attunement, it is built from repair. Dr. Daniel Siegel says it plainly. The rupture is inevitable. The repair is what's essential. When you snap, when you miss the signal, when you are too tired or too flooded to be present, you have not damaged the attachment. You have created a rupture. And a rupture, followed by repair, is not failure. It is, according to decades of research, one of the most powerful builders of secure attachment that exists. Because what the child learns in the repair is something no perfect interaction could teach. When things go wrong between us, we come back to each other. Conflict is not the end. Rupture is not abandonment. We always find our way back. What to practice? When you lose your patience, come back. When you snap, name it. I wasn't at my best just now. I'm sorry. Can we try that again? No perfect script required. Just the act of returning. That returning is more powerful than getting it right the first time ever was. And it connects directly to the next pattern, because there are actually 2 different kinds of returning your child needs from you, and most parents only know about one. Pattern 4. The safe haven 2 kinds of return. Bowlby described every child as needing 2 things from their attachment figure: a secure base to leave from, and a safe haven to return to. The secure base is about launching the confidence to go explore. The safe haven is about landing the certainty that when things get hard, there is somewhere to go and be received without judgment. Most parents understand the secure base. They encourage, they cheer, they send the child out into the world. The safe haven is subtler. It is what you offer when the child comes back. Hurt, embarrassed, failed, overwhelmed. When your child comes home from school and something went wrong, the safe haven response is not to fix it, minimize it, or pivot to solutions. It is to receive them first. Tell me what happened. I'm listening. Take your time. And then actually listening. Not half listening while forming your response. Not waiting to give advice. Just taking in what they are telling you and making sure they know it landed. Sroufe and Siegel's longitudinal research tracking children from infancy through adulthood found that those with secure attachment histories were more socially competent, more likely to be peer leaders, and better equipped to form trusting relationships in adulthood. The root of all of it was this: someone received me when I needed to land. What to practice? Slow down the moment your child comes to you in distress. Receive first, problem solve later. What they need in the landing moment is the felt experience of being fully taken in, not managed, not redirected, just held. You can offer solutions in 10 minutes. You cannot offer the landing moment twice. Pattern 5. Narrative co-construction. Talking about feelings builds the brain. Here is a research finding that transforms something as ordinary as a car ride conversation into one of the most powerful attachment tools available to a parent. Research on internal working models, the mental representations children form of themselves and their relationships, has found that the way parents talk with their children about emotional experiences directly shapes the child's developing sense of self and their capacity for emotional understanding. Developmental psychologist Ross Thompson and colleagues found that securely attached children benefit from what researchers call open, fluid communication with their caregivers. Conversations that explore negative emotions, discuss why people feel what they feel, and allow the child's own emotional perspective to be fully heard and validated. This is different from simply talking at your child about emotions. It is a specific kind of dialogue in which the parent and child co-construct a narrative together, making sense of experiences, naming feelings, exploring their causes, and building a shared understanding. You seemed really upset after school. What happened? What were you feeling? Why do you think it felt so big? And then genuinely listening to the answer, expanding on it, reflecting it back. Not correcting the emotion or redirecting to the lesson, staying in the experience alongside the child until it feels fully witnessed and understood. Research has shown that securely attached children recall events more positively and integrate information about themselves and others with greater accuracy and nuance. The internal working model they are building, the deep automatic map of who I am, who others are, and whether the world is safe, is being constructed in these ordinary conversations. What to practice? Once a day in the car, at dinner, at bedtime, ask your child one open question about their emotional experience. Not, how was your day? That gets fine. Ask, what was the hardest moment today? What did it feel like? What do you think was going on? Then listen, not to solve, to understand. The conversation itself is the intervention. Pattern 6. The internal working model, how your child comes to know themselves. This is the pattern that connects all the others, and it is the one most parents never think about explicitly. Research from Bowlby, and expanded by decades of developmental science, has established that every child is simultaneously building two mental representations from their early interactions with caregivers, a model of other people and a model of themselves. The model of others says, are people reliable? Will they come when I need them? Can I trust that others will respond to me with warmth? But the model of self says something equally important. Am I worthy of care? Am I the kind of person others want to come to? Do I deserve comfort when I am hurting? Research published in Child Development by Verschuren and colleagues found a strong positive connection between the security of a child's attachment and the positiveness of their self-concept as early as 5 years old. A child who has been consistently received, consistently comforted, consistently welcomed even in moments of difficulty, does not just learn that others are safe, they learn that I am worthy of safety. And research from the University of Nebraska found that secure children not only see themselves more positively than insecure children, they also make more positive attributions about the intentions of others, whether that other is a peer, a parent, or a teacher. The internal model generalizes outward into every relationship the child encounters. This is why secure attachment is not just about the parent-child relationship. It is the architecture on which a child's entire social and emotional world is built. What to practice? Pay deliberate attention to how your responses to your child's needs communicate something about their worthiness. When they reach for you, and you come, you are not just meeting a need. You are writing a line in their self-concept. I am someone worth coming to. When you are warmly present in their vulnerability, not just their capability, you are adding, all of me is acceptable, not just the easy parts. Every response is a vote in the election of who your child believes they are. Pattern 7. Attuned discipline, holding the limit and the relationship. Here is something the research is unambiguous about that surprises many parents. Limits are part of secure attachment. Diane Baumrin's landmark research in the 1960s identified what she called authoritative parenting firm. Limits held with warmth and explanation as consistently producing better outcomes than either permissive parenting or authoritarian parenting. Across decades and dozens of replication studies, the finding holds. A child with no limits does not feel free. They feel unsafe. Because a child's nervous system is not designed to self-regulate the world around them. It is designed to be regulated by a calm, confident adult who is in charge. When that adult is not in charge, when the child holds too much power over their own environment, the nervous system goes into low-level threat alert. What attuned discipline looks like is not punishment. It is not shame. It is a parent who holds the limit clearly while staying emotionally connected to the child's experience of it. I know you're angry. You really wanted that. The answer is still no. I love you, and the answer is no. Both things true simultaneously. The limit is real, and the child's feelings about the limit are also real and do not threaten the limit and do not threaten the relationship. Dr. Daniel Siegel calls this the core of what secure children carry into adulthood, the felt knowledge that love and limits coexist. That being told no is not the same as being unloved. What to practice? When you enforce a limit, hold two things at once: your calm authority around the boundary and your warm presence with your child's emotional response to it. You are not choosing between being firm and being connected. You are demonstrating that both are possible at the same time. That demonstration is one of the most important things a childhood can deliver. Pattern 8. Reflective functioning, seeing the child behind the behavior. In the 1990s, Peter Fonagy at University College London introduced a concept that has since become one of the most important in all of developmental psychology. He called it reflective functioning, a clinical term for something deeply human, the ability to stay curious about what is happening inside your child. Not just what they are doing, but what they are feeling, thinking, and needing underneath the behavior. It sounds obvious. Of course your child has an inner world. But in practice, in the heat of a tantrum, in the exhaustion of the evening, in the moment when your child is baffling or infuriating, this awareness often disappears. We stop wondering what is happening inside our child. We just react to what's in front of us. Fonagy's research found that a parent's ability to stay curious about their child's inner experience was one of the strongest predictors of secure attachment. More predictive, in some studies, than general parenting sensitivity. What to practice? When your child's behavior baffles or frustrates you, ask one internal question before you respond. What is my child experiencing right now that I cannot see? Not what are they doing wrong. What are they feeling that came out as this? The asking itself changes your response from reactive to reflective. And that shift is one of the most powerful moves in all of parenting. Pattern 9. Earn security. Your history doesn't have to be theirs. This is the pattern for every parent who is quietly terrified they are passing on damage they received. Research on intergenerational attachment has found a striking pattern. Parents who were raised with insecure attachment tend to produce insecure attachment in their own children, unless they have done one specific thing, made sense of it. Mary Main at UC Berkeley developed the Adult Attachment Interview in the 1980s, a research tool that assesses how adults narrate their own childhood experiences. And the finding that is replicated across 40 years of studies is this: it is not what happened to you in childhood that predicts how you will parent. It is whether you have been able to form a coherent, compassionate narrative about it. Dr. Dan Siegel calls this earned, secure attachment. A parent who had a genuinely difficult childhood but who has done the honest work of understanding, it can provide secure attachment to their child at rates comparable to parents who were securely attached themselves. Your history is not your destiny. It is raw material. What to practice? If your own childhood was difficult, begin building a coherent story about it. Not one that minimizes what happened. Not one that consumes you with blame. A clear, honest, compassionate account. This happened. It affected me in these ways. I understand it now. And it does not have to be the story I give my child. That account, however partial, however in progress, is the most protective thing you can build, for yourself and for every child who will call you their parent. Pattern 10. The long game security is never too late to build. Here is the last thing the research wants you to know, and it might be the most important. Secure attachment is not a destination you reach in the first year of life, and then either have or don't have. It is a living, dynamic system, continuously updated by what happens in the relationship over time. A 2025 study in Frontiers in Psychology found that secure attachment functions not as a fixed trait, but as a malleable process that can be shaped and reinforced by positive experiences across the entire lifespan. It is never too late. The Minnesota study, which tracked children from birth all the way into adulthood, found that when insecure early attachment was followed by improved caregiving and stable relationships, outcomes improved significantly. The past matters, and the present matters more. The research on what secure children carry into adulthood is striking. Better emotion regulation, stronger peer relationships, greater resilience, And something harder to measure, but most important of all, a quiet, embodied story about who they are. I am worth reaching for. When I fall, I am caught. When I am at my worst, the people I love don't leave. That story propagates forward. Securely attached children become securely attached adults, who become parents who build security in their own children. The wounds travel forward through generations. And so does the healing. What to practice? Give up the idea that the window has closed. Whatever age your child is, whatever the history between you, every conversation where you are genuinely present, every repair after a rupture, every moment you choose curiosity over reactivity, every time you let them land before you problem solve. These are not small gestures. They are the system updating. In real time, in your favor. You are not trying to be a perfect parent. Perfect parenting, the research tells us clearly, is not only impossible, it is not even what the nervous system is looking for. What your child's nervous system is building is not a picture of your flawlessness, it is a picture of your pattern. The million ordinary moments, the touch, the returns, the repairs, the faces that stay open, the limits held without cruelty, the feelings received before they are fixed that add up, over years, to the most important thing you will ever give another human being. A secure base, a safe haven, a story about who they are. And if there are patterns in this episode you recognized you have not been building, that is not a verdict. It is an invitation. The data on your child's nervous system updates every single day. Make today a good data point. If this episode gave you something to take into your week, share it with a parent who needs to hear it. Leave a comment telling me which of these 10 patterns you are starting with. Until next time, be patient with yourself, be present with your children, and remember, you don't need to be perfect. You need to keep coming back. That is the whole thing, and you are already doing it.